What's up, guys? Welcome back. Mr. C's Corner. It is Thursday, May 7th, Throwback Thursday today. We're going to continue with our lesson on Tuesday with the government's role in our economy, and we're throwing it back to my high school days, listening to a group called Outkast. See what they have in store. All right. So, our government's role is to foster success in the economy, right? We talk about that with protectionism. We discuss free trade. We have those trade barriers for protectionism, tariffs, quotas, embargoes, right? We know that. One way it does that is by creating rules and regulations that organizations and consumers must follow. So not only are we talking about international trading, but we're also talking about the commerce that we have here in the U.S. Kind of like we were talking about that with interstate and intrastate last video. So these laws protect competition, protect business agreements, and creative properties, and to regulate the production process, right? How things are produced has to follow certain rules and regulations the government seems fit. So on Tuesday, we discussed how the government regulates businesses and how it protects competition. Today, we'll discuss how it protects business agreements and creative properties, and also how it regulates the production process. So I know a little bit about that, the production process and the agencies involved in that, but we're going to talk about one in particular, and we'll see what we have in store for our questions. So our EQ for today's lesson that we're going to be able to answer at the end of this video is: how does the government regulate business to protect business agreements and creative properties? So business agreements, creative properties, right? Very similar to our EQ that we had on Tuesday. All right, let's start with how the government protects business agreements, or as I like to call, contracts. Shout out to my business law class. Yes, we spent an extended period of time on contracts, but it's important for us to know. So contracts, if you aren't in my business law class, is a legally enforceable agreement between two or more parties, either written, verbal, or formed with a handshake. So an example, I had a student in my business law class. We entered into a verbal contract. He said that he wanted a crumpet, and I said, okay, well, if you make honor roll for this market period, I'll get you a crumpet. So, or it was a straight A's. Either way, I lived up to my end. He made honor roll, and I got him his crumpet. So, shout out to that student. So anyway, so that's what a contract is. He was able to fulfill his end, and then I had to then fulfill my end of that contract. Right? Make sense? So if that student did not make honor roll, or maybe decided to back out of it halfway through the contract, that is a breach of contract. So a breach of contract is when one party fails to live up to their terms of the contract. It's easier to prove a breach of contract if it is written. So here's a thing that I really want you guys to really understand about contracts. Always get it in writing. Always get it in writing. That's so important. Okay. So first question, though, on Schoology is, if someone breached a contract, what are some remedies or solutions, there's a vocab word for you, they could be held to? So I'll repeat it. If someone breached a contract, what are some remedies they could be held to? Comment on Schoology. All right, moving on. That's how the government protects business agreements, and they protect creative properties through copyrights, patents, and trademarks. Yes, I did this in a previous video, but just in case you didn't watch that video, I'm going to talk about them again. Okay? Great. Awesome. Copyright is the legal right of artists to own their creations. So a person creating an original work automatically holds that copyright to it, which lasts until 70 years after that artist dies. So think of creative works in that regard, like music. Except in educational settings, I can use this as a teaching point. Okay? Think that. So that's what a copyright is. Patent. A legal grant for the sole right to own an invention. A patent lasts for 20 years after the inventor filed their application with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So it's an invention. So if I invent, I don't know, the knobby thing for hand sanitizer, right? So if I invent this, I own the patent for this for 20 years. I don't. but I own it for 20 years after I filed. Now, the whole filing and coming to fruition process, I really don't know, but that's what they told us. Patent is 20 years from when the inventor originally filed. Okay, great, awesome. Trademark, a name, symbol, or character that identifies a product. So a trademark is protected from being copied if it is registered appropriately. Trademark, any kind of logo, the M for McDonald's, Amazon's name. I'm trying to think if I have anything over here. I really don't have anything. I guess Purell's logo. Shout out Purell. That stuff. So that is a trademark. So the government regulates the production process. So that's how government protects creative processes. Now we're going into the production. This is where I won't say expertise, but something that I understand fully from my farm. So the government regulates the production process by passing laws that protect the environment and its workers, right? Pretty self-explanatory. An example, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, regulates the manufacturing and sale of drugs in the U.S. They have to make sure that they are what they are. They have to make sure that they are putting certain kind of details and symptoms and what have you on all these drugs that are out there now, right? So my thing with the Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Department of Agriculture is, because I was certified organic, my farm, I had to go and record certain steps that I took for operation, whether it be planting a plant, all the details involved with that, seed, the soil, whatever. I had to record all that and report it to the U.S. Department of Ag because they need to have proper records of all that to ensure that it was certified organic and it is healthy. It's there to protect the consumer in that instance. Another one is OSHA, making sure that workers are safe and healthy in their working environment, especially during this whole situation, assuming that OSHA is handling a lot of different kind of cases. But anyway, so government's there to protect our agreements through contract law. Government's also there to protect our intellectual rights through these copyrights, patents, and trademarks. And they're there to watch over and to regulate production of certain goods and services. And a big one is food. So besides for the here's your second question. You got to do a little bit of research on this. Besides for the FDA, USDA, and OSHA that I mentioned, what is another government agency that regulates something in the production process? Make sure you're putting your responses on Schoology. Okay, great. That's all I got for today. Hopefully we learned something. Great way to end it with Outkast. Bell ringer, check in the comment section. You might be surprised. Remember, put everything on Schoology. See you tomorrow, Friday.